product, branding, and packaging decisions. This is probably one of my most favorite chapters because it goes into core branding and the packages and those that you're really, really familiar with. So come with me and we'll talk today about all of these areas and more. So consider the complexity of products. Consider the aspect of products and how they are viewed from consumers. Not only just purchasing the product as the core product and that haptic that you utilize all the time, but also the extension of the product and what you expect. Purchasing a bike, maybe you expect that bike store to be able to maintain it, to assist you with it. That all comes into the packaging and products as it relates to value add for the consumer and how hopefully adds back to you a benefit for your decision-making process as a consumer and really hopes to engage you with one company over another. Types of products. We'll go through these pretty specifically, but specialty, first and foremost. Consider this: wedding gowns, college apparel, those that are really, really specialized. Shopping, shoes, appliances, cell phones, any of those that are really specific in terms of different types of products. Consumers will spend a fair amount of time comparing different alternatives. Convenience, willing to spend minimal effort to evaluate prior to purchase, maybe canned goods or shampoo, something that's really, really convenient and it's a little bit quicker, and they're willing to spend perhaps a little bit of money just to have it very close and quick in terms of the economy we live in now, which is time poor. And then finally, those unsought products. What would they be? Fire extinguishers, other areas that come up with a time of need, not necessarily want, but are products that we need in our everyday life based on situations. Those would be unsought. So this goes through the product mix and product line decisions. I want you to take a look at some of these videos. They're very well done and they're from Kellogg's, and they talk about the Kellogg's brand and line of portfolios and the variety of products and how they handle them. So whether Kellogg's looks at it from their product lines, ready to eat, the toasters and pastries, their cookies, as well as their natural and organic, that's the way they break them down from Kellogg's Corporation standpoint. But as you'll see, other companies break down their product lines and how they align with consumers in a different way. But this is a great example from Kellogg's. As you can see, again with Kellogg's, the breadth of all the products. It's a consumer packaged goods company. So you have the breadth, but then you have the depth within each of the categories. The cereal category, the cookies category. So consider that and consider the variety of packaging and sizes and flavors and variations that each one of these can offer. And take another look at this other video from Kellogg's about the breadth and depth of their portfolio of products. Next up, brand. What is it? So the American Marketing Association, we always say that a brand is a name, a term, a symbol, anything that recognizes and really provides value back to the consumer. So consider that. What brand do you have in your mind right now? Think of it as we go through this lecture today. Whether it's Nike or Starbucks or Google or Apple, have a brand in mind so when we go through this, it aligns a little bit more with the lecture and you can apply it more. So considering these, any of the aspects such as logos, symbol, etc., brand elements. That Nike swoosh, huge brand element. So well known that it's called being ubiquitous. Everyone knows it so well, you don't even need words. Another brand that does that is Starbucks with the logo. No words needed. It's a symbol that can cross over any areas, and it does not, and it allows you not to have barriers internationally. When you have a symbol, you don't have to translate. So consider that and how brands are evolving to this. The B from the American Marketing Association and the prominence, reputation, and awareness that's required. So all corporations look at brands, a big brand management, the core of some corporations, how important a brand manager's job is 24/7, 365 to understand the marketplace, the competitive intelligence, making sure that they have the strongest SOV, share of voice, that they are equal, if not head of all innovation, and really working towards aligning their brand needs with what your expectations are from a consumer. Take a look at this video to learn a little bit more. So brands versus product. Products can be physical goods. They can be anything we offer for attention, acquisition, consumption, haptic. You're holding on to a product, an actual physical element. 5 levels of meaning of a product. So let's take, for example, a telephone. You have the basic core benefit. Telephone is intended for communication. Level 1. You can make 1 phone call, right? 2 phone calls, whatever it is, but at least you're expecting the core benefit to at least be able to communicate and call somebody. The generic product level, it's still a basic version, but maybe with one other element that distinguishes itself. So maybe it's now it's a phone. Obviously, you can make calls, but maybe it has texting as well. Next up, the expected. Maybe it's the Apple phone that you've purchased. So you're expecting this phone to have calling, texting, games, pictures, video chat, apps on it. It's an expected of what you expect a phone to allow you today. It's not those normal flip phones. It's an actual phone that's actually a mini computer in your hand and what your expectations are upon purchasing it. The augmented, additional products that make it really stand out. So maybe it's a normal Apple phone versus an Apple iPhone 6S, a larger phone, larger screen, ability to maybe tie in more with GPS or other options that are not available on the normal core Apple iPhone. And then the potential product level. What will telephones look like in the future? If someone asked you 20 years ago, I'm sure you would have thought, oh, phones will still be home phones. How many landlines have now disappeared? Because now most people have cell phones. But even the phones we carry today, will we still carry them? Or will it be something, a telephone, some have said telephones will now be an earphone in your ear. Will you make calls? Or maybe contact lenses where you can make a phone call from. What's the future? Only we can see what it could be by trying to invent it every single day. But the future of telephones in any brand could be the potential of what it is. Now going back, we talked about a product versus a brand. So you have a product in your core 5 levels, and a brand, more than a product, dimensions that differentiate itself. A brand, I always say, lives in the mind. That's where you position it. You may love a brand from the heart, but as you view it. So once again, as I say certain brand names, Nike, Starbucks, Gold, Virginia Tech, what do those brands mean in your mindset? Value of a brand to consumers. Think of the brands. How many of you have a loyal brand out there? Think of learned behavior. Think of what you grew up with. Are you still using the same toothpaste you grew up with? Or maybe it's deodorant, maybe it's perfume, maybe it's makeup, maybe it's shaving razors, whatever it may be. But the value of having this relationship with this product is pretty key, because a brand is a relationship. It assists you in terms of facilitating purchase, knowing exactly what product you want, where that brand is, identifying it on the shelf. Loyalty, once a consumer is loyal, it protects you from the competition. Therefore, even if the competition offers you coupons or other pieces, you're not going to move. You're in a tight brand relationship and you're loyal to that brand. Very similar to a personal relationship as well. So a brand and loyal consumers are critical in terms of the overall market value of a product and really tying in as an asset, risks. So talking about it in terms of products and risks, there's a few different kinds that you should be aware of. Obviously, functional risks. The product does not work the way it was intended to, the way it was marketed. Number one. Physical risks could pose a physical risk to your well-being. Familiar with hoverboards? That was a physical risk. When they're exploding right there, when the batteries are overcharging. That certainly is a good example of it. Financial risk. Not worth the price it's paid. Maybe you didn't have time enough to search out the right computer. Maybe you purchased a computer and paid $500 more for it than it actually could have if you had a little bit more time for researching it. Another risk, social. Product results in embarrassment from others. Perhaps it's a product you purchased, and instead of an Apple, it's the new orange iPhone. And the orange iPhone breaks down as soon as you make the first call, possibly a social risk. Then we have psychological risks, mental well-being, and there have been some pharmaceutical products that have created that type of risk for consumers. And then time risk, the failure of the product being available when you need it. Therefore, you went and selected another product. These are all potential risks to be aware of when you're looking at products. So can everything be branded, you ask? Well, yes. If you really look at it, people are branded, commodities are branded. Water used to be a commodity. Now water is one of the largest brand categories there is. So take a little more of a look and understand how that's going to be done. So the brand equity concept, very important and critical to understand. A lot of practicing managers don't have a decisive aspect of it, but we believe that relates to the fact that different outcomes result the marketing of a product or service because of its brand name. So consider this, Coca-Cola and RC Cola. Two brands that started with the same type of platform. Yet Coca-Cola obviously has soared based on its marketing, based on how it's branded itself. The first ones ever to do some critical things in really building a core relationship with their consumers, the Coca-Cola family as they are known, considering those aspects and the important aspect of brand equity. In here we look at just a regular brown box or a blue Tiffany box. Which one is it? Tiffany's been branded as that quintessential product that you get on those special occasions. They've really, really worked hard and even branded the color. So little blue, everyone looks for that under a tree at some point or another. Looking at customer-based brand equity. How can you really ensure your brand is strong and has a strong place within the consumer mindset? Once again, it has to be a strong brand. It has to be favorable within the marketplace, but it also has to be unique. It has to have certain aspects, features and benefits that really set it aside from any other competition. It has to have those unique selling propositions that really tie you in. And then of course your experience with the brand, your trust, your loyalty, the same experience every single time with a brand, whether it's a product you taste or consume, as well as a service when you walk through a hotel. In any aspect, it's got to be consistent and have continuity throughout all of the marketing elements. This is just a little slide on brand equity and brand awareness, looking at the overall companies and how much they're worth from a brand equity standpoint. So consider how much your name would be worth versus the actual person of you. If your name was Michael Jordan or Oprah, how much is that name and how much do people pay for that name? Same thing with Coca-Cola as a sponsor, just for the name alone and aligning it with such a powerful corporation. So considering the most important elements of a brand, the position, the brand position. Who's addressed by the company's branded products? Who's the target? What's the promise? What is the key one promise that will rely over time relative to this product? The personality. Different brands have different personalities. Starbucks brand personality is quite different than Dunkin' Donuts brand personality than Maxwell Coffee House. Consider those different brands and how they look out-facing. Some brands are fun, some brands are more serious. You have to understand the overall personality before you can understand how to market and tie in with your consumers. Also, the brand story. One of the key pieces about marketing is storytelling. Really understanding a brand from the beginning to the end, and consumers love to hear stories. So whether you want to understand the story of Nike and how it started with two men that believed in a difference with sneakers and how they started from actually a waffle maker on the bottom of their sneakers, or how Starbucks started in Pike Place, Seattle, and why they started over a cup of coffee, believing that there could be more people who want to sit and enjoy coffee and hire purveyors of the finest coffee in the world and really have a different experience than most people had thought of with coffee before. Co-branding, you'll see a lot of this. There's a lot of chains right now that do it. This example is just Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. You see a lot of co-branding in existence with things. You'll also see it in different products, whether it's Ben & Jerry's and their Oreo ice cream or a variety of others. Keep your eye out for this. It happens more than you think, and it's always two different companies that may have a strategic alliance together. Brand licensing, huge, very lucrative for a company, very, very lucrative. This is just an example of bobbleheads, but if you can think of the expanse and all the different deals, and if you even Google brand licensing and see all the different iterations and how all companies tie into it. Think of movies. Think of when movies come in and they do brand licensing or movie promotion on soda cups or tie in with Burger King or McDonald's. Those were all examples of it. And packaging. How closely have you looked at packaging these days? So packaging is really interesting because from a supermarket perspective, they have to be associated with a planogram. Every single product has a space on a supermarket shelf. It has the number of facings as well as the number of products that are behind. It's all driven by sales. How well is that product? So on RC Cola and Coca-Cola, how many facings in the supermarket aisle does RC Cola have versus Coca-Cola? That right there will showcase to you a strong brand as well as why brand equity is so important. At the end of the day, it really does build your overall share of voice and your core positioning. Product labeling. All of these pieces are core. Many people want to see now, is this recyclable? Is this green? What is this made of? All different types of pieces. So most of the marketing of products occur on product labels. How many times do you find out about different variations of cookies or different recipes? It's all on the product packaging. We utilize that real estate to really expand the brand experience with consumers. And something to be careful of, brand dilution. When your brand expands too far, So an example was years ago with Starbucks, when Starbucks started as coffee purveyors, the finest coffee. Then it went into foods. Then it went into stuffed animals. Then it went into CDs. And so Howard Schultz, who's the CEO, had left and then came back, said, we need to get back to the core. At the end of the day, we are purveyors of the finest coffee, providing this to people that have the same faith and belief that we do. It's critical in the sense of understanding that and not diluting it and expanding your brand too far. There's a great book called Profit from the Core, which talks about a lot of companies that actually profited and focused on their core and what they were really good at versus ones that really expanded too much and really lost their essence and diluted their brand. And measurement, the final piece, ROI. How solid is your brand equity? Is it still continuing to grow? You saw that brand equity is in the millions, if not billions, for core companies. What happens when competitors come in the marketplace? Does that impact your brand equity? It could if it challenges you. Brand equity is one of those pieces that, once again, you can hold to it, you can understand sponsorships and the overall power in terms of share of voice, but it's something that has to be protected. It's somewhat of the holy grail of an overall brand and positioning. And that's it for Chapter 11. We'll see you next time.